Hi everybody, I'm Ryan Chandler. Here's your talking points for this week. Lubbock City Council getting closer to setting our latest tax rate, while neighbors in Tech Terrace confront some controversial construction. We'll talk through the latest issues impacting you with Councilman Mark McBrayer. And cruising down the interstate as local leaders praise the generational change coming to I-27. Senator Ted Cruz joins us to talk about its impact on West Texas and much more.
From the studios of KAMC Television in Lubbock, your local election headquarters. This is Talking Points.
A lot to get to this week, so let's start right off with District 3 Councilman Mark McBrayer. Councilman, thank you for joining me.
Glad to be here, Ryan. Thank you.
As far as budget meetings go, this was one of the most interesting ones that I have watched. They're not always that filled with fireworks, I think, but there were some interesting disagreements and last-minute amendments to this year's budget that I think is important to talk about. But before an amendment that you had offered, the city tax rate would have increased by almost 5%. And then we ultimately decided on a close vote, mind you, a no new revenue rate for the city of Lubbock. Why did you feel it was important to push for a no new revenue rate?
Well, first of all, this is just the first reading on this. We'll have
Right.
a second reading next week, so it won't become legislation, so to speak, until we have the second reading on it, and then it becomes an ordinance for the purposes of the tax rate. I think it's important for your viewers to understand, it's very frequently misunderstood. The city council has absolutely no control over appraisals. When you get your appraisal on your house or your property, we have nothing to do with it. That's an appraisal review board that people who are appointed by the city, the county, the hospital districts, et cetera, they sit on that, but they are governed by statutes on how they have to do their work and how they have to appraise. So when they come up with an appraised value, and your appraisal may go up quite a bit, what the city council does is set a tax rate, which is imposing a tax on $100 valuation for every $100 valuation of your appraisal. So we have control of that. We felt like because of the situation people are in this year, especially people who are on fixed incomes, this is one of my real concerns, and people who may be on Social Security or people who have low wage jobs, they're being hit right and left with inflation. And the other taxing entities in our county, the county has already said they're going to raise the tax rate. I don't know what the hospital districts are going to do, but for our part, for the city's part, we were not going to add to that tax burden on our taxpayers for the year ahead. We just felt like that was a commitment we needed to make this year because these are not normal times. I can't guarantee that'll be the situation every year. Normal times where wages go up along with inflation, well then your tax rate should go up too, so that you are able to fund the expenses. The city has expenses. Our expenses have all gone up this year, but we're not going to be raising the taxes. We've cut where we could and using some of our reserves, not filling some positions, and that's how we were able to achieve that. And it was important to me and the mayor and 2 other council members that we do that this year.
I do want to make sure that we touch on one more important topic, though, in your district, which hasn't actually reached the city council dais yet, but has been in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Of course, the controversy in Tech Terrace over what to do with the Godbold building. Some argue that a new luxury student housing complex will be good for development, good for property tax rates. Others argue that this could have some seriously negative impacts on the Tech Terrace neighborhood. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I don't have a position on it yet because it's come before the Planning and Zoning Commission board, but they have postponed any decision on that so that they can get some more information. I think the decision will be made, or the vote will be taken in October. I have scheduled, and I just got this right as I came in, the dates set for it. The 21st, I will have a town hall meeting in my district for people in my district to come and talk about that, and for the people who will be are behind this project to present a little bit better and more detail about the project, how it'll look, and where they have an opportunity to address the concerns. The concern across everybody, I mean, people have different reasons not wanting it, but the major concern across all levels of opposition to it was the traffic. And so I've told them that, they need to come up with a plan to deal with traffic, because that's the key issue for everybody. Some people don't want anything done to it. They want the Godbold Center to stay, but it's just not a viable thing anymore, in my mind. And so something will happen eventually. The question, I think, for my district and Tech Terrace in particular, where it'll be located, is what do you want there? And what effect can you have on the developers on what it actually looks like at the end of the day, if it's going to go in there. So we're going to have a town hall meeting. At the end of the day, I will go with what I feel like my district wants to happen there. But I want them to know exactly what the developers plan and have the developers given an opportunity to answer these concerns, and let's see what happens. I mean, the difference in tax income to the city is the difference between about $14,000 a year and $250,000.
Right.
It's a sizable amount of money to come into our city's budget, and we're at a no new tax revenue rate this year. That money can be important to a city. It can be important to my district and what needs to be done. So I don't want us to just say no to every project that goes in without considering what do we want there, because something eventually is going to go in there.
Yeah. You have been thrown into it right off the bat.
Well,
you got very busy very quickly.
Yes, we have 4 new members on the council, and we were the 4 that voted for the no new tax rate. So I think there is, for the people who are out there, taxpayers and voters, there is at least, I believe, a new sort of attitude and agenda on the city council. Not to say that we're in total opposition to the others. There are many things we will agree on, but as far as taxes, we all took a position on that we stuck with at the end of the day. So.
A lot of important issues that we'll continue to cover. I always wish we had more time to talk about these, but come back on. We'll keep the conversation going.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman.
You bet.
And when we come back, Senator Cruz joins us to talk about a big new economic driver for West Texas and much more.